Episode 6 of Ahsoka proves that the magic of Star Wars and the wonder is there in full force. I can't wait to talk to you guys about this episode. There is so much lore, so much we need to dive into, so let's not waste any more time. Subscribe to the channel, join us on the road to 600 subs, and let's break down this episode. This episode starts off with one of the few Ahsoka scenes we actually get in this episode. She is traveling with Huyang in the Purrgil, and they get to talk to each other about their histories and stories that Huyang used to tell the Jedi Order back in the days of the Old Republic. Again, connecting with the 5th episode of Ahsoka, she definitely still seems very different here. She has been reborn into her new and old self at the same time, and she didn't tell Hera that Sabine went willingly with Baylan and Shin to the new galaxy. Ahsoka asks Huyang to tell one of his stories, and he says, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And this just kind of puts Star Wars in perspective. These are stories, these are folklore, these are tales, this is really just mythology. And I love how they kind of put it on the nose here and tell about a distant galaxy that they're going to is a tale from a galaxy far, far away, when we know Star Wars, our main galaxy, as a galaxy far, far away. I love this connection. It was something very small, and I'm glad they're actually, using the wordage that we've seen in every Star Wars movie in universe now. And after this, the episode opens with the title card, Far, Far Away. We open up with Sabine trapped in a holding cell on the way to the new galaxy. Baylan says that he's going to honor his word, and then we meet up with Morgan Elsbeth and Shin. Baylan tells Morgan that Sabine's need to find Ezra Bridger completely blinds her. They arrive at the new galaxy, and we get confirmation that this is Peridea. This is the place where hyperspace whales go at the end of their migration path to die. And not only that, but this is an ancient site of the Night Sisters. Hence why Morgan Elsbeth was able to know how to travel here. They land on a landing pad near sort of a temple, and I love the design of the ship that comes out of the Eye of Sion. It reminds me of a Republic gunship kind of, but more modernized and sleek and gold. I want this in a Lego set, give it to me. Upon reaching the temple, we get our first ever look at a live action Night Sister, and not just a Night Scissor, but the 3 mothers. These are very, very high ranking Night Sisters, and it looks like they may have survived here in this new galaxy. We know in our original galaxy they've been completely killed off, at least almost completely, with a couple being left, but here on Peridea there are at least 3 of them. Morgan asks to be delivered to Thrawn, and the mothers respond by saying he is coming, but they can smell the stench of Jedi. Now, who are they talking about here? Of course, they look at Sabine and they capture Sabine, but are they also talking about Baylan and Shin? We'll find out later. It was so awesome seeing the Night Sisters in live action. I'm just kind of floored about how many different things we're getting in this series, and the Night Sisters being just at the top of the list, again, of things that we've seen many times in animation, but seeing it in live action is just a whole nother ball game. Their design, their voice, everything was just perfect. We then get a great dialogue scene between Baylan and Shin where he tells her about the fall of the Jedi Temple. Baylan is on this path to not bring back Grand Admiral Thrawn, which everybody thinks he's doing. He is there for a higher sense of power, to start a new beginning. Then talks about how everything in history is sort of a pattern and completely inevitable. We have the rise of the Jedi, the fall of the Jedi, the rise of the Empire, the fall of the Empire, and so on and so forth. This is a cycle that has been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years, and Baylan's goal is to stop that cycle. Now, how is he going to do that? Well, we don't know just yet, but there are some hints throughout this episode that give us sort of a looking glass feel towards what could possibly be happening with Baylan. Because again, yes, he's working with Morgan and he's working with Thrawn, but I don't think that they have the same goals. In fact, they definitely don't. I wanted to point out here that Ray Stevenson just absolutely knocks it out of the park here. He is so sorely missed, and I just totally wish he could see how many fans love his character and love who he is playing in the show, because it's just phenomenal. Sabine is trying to escape her prison cell when all of the sudden a giant Star Destroyer approaches. Now, this isn't just any Star Destroyer. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn's Star Destroyer from Star Wars Rebels. You can see the painting on the bottom, and you can also see the marks where the hyper whales attached to the ship and damaged it. This thing is massive, and again, another set that I need in a Lego now. Now we get to probably my favorite part of this episode. We get to see Morgan and Baylan and Shin board the Star Destroyer, and we see a giant fleet of stormtroopers. Now, these aren't just normal stormtroopers, these are night troopers. Thrawn's army. They're using the remnants of the stormtrooper armor combined with many different resources that are probably found on Peridea. And their commander and leader is Enoch. Now, it's funny because I remember Enoch from Ben 10, and this guy looks kind of similar to Enoch from Ben 10. I love the character design, and I'm hoping for a really really awesome fight with him. Not soon, but definitely later down the line. The troopers all chant Thrawn, and then we finally see him. Grand Admiral Thrawn is back, and oh my word, let me tell you, the voice, the acting, everything is just how exactly I remember. Thrawn talks to Baylan and SHIN and sort of lets them know that their services were of great use to them, but he had no idea that they were coming. He notes that they definitely have force powers as well, and then they drop the bomb and tell him that Sabine Wren is on board. Now, Sabine and Thrawn have definitely crossed paths multiple times throughout Star Wars Rebels, so this reunion is sort of bittersweet because it's fun to watch, but you know these characters hate each other. In kind of a twist of fate here, Thrawn tells Sabine that she's more than welcome to go out and look for Ezra Bridger, but he's probably dead. Baylan made a promise to Sabine, and he's going to keep that promise to an extent. Thrawn drops one of the coolest lines here. He says something along the lines of, "Sabine, you gambled the entire fate of your galaxy on finding your friend. You've put your entire galaxy at risk just because you believe your friend is still alive." You can tell that Thrawn this whole time is doing this methodical thinking 3 steps ahead as he did in Star Wars Rebels, and I just can't wait to see how this comes to fruition in live action. As they let Sabine leave, we see Thrawn, Baylan, and SHIN overlooking her departure. Baylan and SHIN are given the go-ahead to go follow her because, well, the promise has been fulfilled. The promise was to give Sabine an opportunity to find Ezra, and now that this opportunity has been taken and the promise has been fulfilled, they don't really need her around. In fact, they don't want her around because she is a huge threat. So of course, Baylan and SHIN go after her. So yeah, Baylan and SHIN still suck, but they're kind of honorable in the sense that they let her escape in the first place. Thrawn thinks it's kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone situation. Again, he's very methodical. He thinks that if Sabine does in fact find Ezra, well, take them both out. We then meet up with Sabine, who takes out a bunch of different nomads. I like this fight a lot. She's really starting to use her lightsaber better than her blasters. But at this point in time, Morgan is actually talking to Thrawn about sending Baylan and SHIN out. And Thrawn says, look, they should all die. They are all remnants of the Jedi. They all need to be destroyed. We don't need them anymore. It's better off if we leave them here stranded or if they die, because we don't need them coming back to stop us in the main galaxy. Because of course the whole goal here is to get Thrawn back to our main galaxy. On her search for Ezra, we meet a brand new species new to the Star Wars world, and this is the Noti. They're like turtle, bug, reptile creatures, but they also wear clothes. I love the design of these creatures and how they kind of hunker down with a protective shell. And this just seemed like Star Wars to me. It was magical. It was a new species that we haven't seen before, but kind of is inspired by things in the real world. One of the Noti notices a rebel insignia on the shoulder of Sabine and recognizes it, meaning that they must have seen Ezra. Sabine makes this connection and then follows the Noti to a camp full of these Noti. We find out that Baylan and SHIN have arrived at the place where Sabine took out all of those nomads, and they get another dialogue scene, which is really telling. We learn that Baylan doesn't know Ezra because he's actually from the era of Jedi after the temple. And we also find out that SHIN was also kind of in the same situation as Ezra. She is being trained after the order. SHIN tells Baylan that Thrawn and his army seem very eager to leave this galaxy, and why is that? Baylan puts it in perspective and says, well, maybe here there's a power greater than them, greater than they can handle, so they need to leave. And here is where we start to understand what Baylan's plan is. He says, can you feel it? Can you feel that surge of power? What is this power? Is there a species, is there a race in Peridea that is so dangerous that even Grand Admiral Thrawn and his army have to get out of there so they can not rule this one but rule our old galaxy? Is this the Yuuzhan Vong? Is this a completely new species that we haven't seen before, or maybe it is something from Legends? Is this the Rakatan Empire? We don't know, but this is very exciting because the possibilities are completely endless. But now we know that Baylan and SHIN are not working completely for Thrawn or for Morgan. They were used to get here, and now they have their own plan. Sabine arrives at the giant camp of Noti, and guess what? Ezra Bridger is here. Ezra looks a lot older here, and now it has been a couple years, but he also seems just sort of different. The first thing Ezra says is, I knew I could count on you, and this is reference to the last thing that he said in his hologram. He told Sabine that he was counting on her to find him, and well, she did. Ezra seems a lot more wise here, and it's just a great reunion between two best friends, and I'm so glad they got this. Now we do of course get this small reunion, but beyond that there isn't much going on with Ezra just yet. He packs up the camps with the Noties because they have to move every so often so they aren't found. After this we transition back to the Night Mothers, who are talking to Thrawn, and they said that the threat of fate has told them that another Jedi is coming. Of course this is Huyang and Ahsoka Tano. Now Thrawn at this moment goes into complete intelligence mode. He wants to know who her master was. He wants to know every possible thing he can about Ahsoka Tano. And how does he do this? Well, with Night Sister magic. Thrawn is becoming so powerful even after the Age of the Empire, and I can't wait to see where they take him here. This actually marks the end of the episode, and what a great setup for the final 2 episodes of season 1 of Ahsoka. God, I hope we get a season 2. This show just keeps upping the ante every single week, and I think this is probably the most rewatchable series out of any of the Star Wars projects, besides like the movies. The magic of Star Wars and the intrigue is back completely. We're in a brand new galaxy, new creatures, new storylines, new lore with old characters. This is what everybody's been waiting for. I'm having an absolutely amazing time with this series. I couldn't be happier with how it's turned out so far. It's been everything I wanted, and I know they're gonna knock it out of the park with the last 2 episodes. I think Thrawn looks amazing and sounds great with Lars Mikkelsen, and I'm actually really interested in seeing how Baylan and Shin turn out their sort of goals and their objective. We sort of have 3 different opposing forces here. We have Thrawn and his empire, post-empire. We have Ahsoka with Sabine and Ezra, and we also have Baylan and Shin, and they're all going to fight each other, I think, in the end, and well, only one person can win. That being said, I don't think the end of this season is going to be sort of a bookend. I think this season is going to be the start of something greater, and I can't wait to see it. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a comment on your thoughts about this episode. I read every single one, and I most likely will respond. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.